Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. What's going on, beautiful people? Today is October 17th. It's Friday. Happy Friday. 12:08 on the dot on the clock. And I'm here with a message. This is already what's been pre-shuffled. My pre-shuffles don't always look like this. A lot of times it's me just paying attention to the cards I cut on, to the cards that show themselves while I'm shuffling them. But today I had these groups of cards fall out on the table, kind of all at once, really, but in these different collections. And the deck also fell as it did here. Well, this is how I sat it down, and that's how it showed itself. So I decided today that, well, at first I was going to just collect them all and, first I was going to take a look at them and then, throw them back in the deck. But then I was like, no, why don't I just display them? So here we are. So this is more or less how the pre-shuffle fared out. And the overall preview of this message is that someone, of course, not just one someone, but I'll speak of it in the case of it being a singular story, okay? So follow me, camera. So, exactly, and that's something that Messy Maya used to say. He was a YouTube personality in the early days. I caught on to him much later, of course, as I often do. But when I went back to look at his videos, I was quite entertained. He was an entertaining character, but messy is definitely the key word here. What else can I say? Oh, so sorry, I got off track. Which brings me to my point. Somebody here is what I heard to be a serial cock blocker. That's right, you heard it right. A serial cock blocker. Notorious, no doubt, but certainly serial. And I'll tell you a little bit what I mean about that. Now, of course, we usually think of a cock blocker as a female blocking a man. And of course, it could definitely translate in that regard too. It's not exclusive to one gender per se. But what I see in the cards is a man who has a cock and he always blocking, okay? And particularly, honestly, I don't see. Okay, so let me say how the cock blocker thing translates. So it's not exclusively sexual, obviously, as you know how I speak symbolically, but this is someone that goes out of their way to block endeavors of every kind, or what was it? It was a word I heard, to block. Damn, there was a specific word that I heard. Hold on, let me see. Not companionship, union. Okay, so I'll tell you what I saw. I'm so sorry, but there was something that I heard earlier that made it really make sense. Maybe it'll come back to me later. But it's somebody that consistently blocks endeavors of all sorts. So it's not just about suitors. That's what it was. Suitors of all sorts. So that is not exclusive to people, masculine or feminine. It's pretty much blocking someone from attaining or connecting with their destiny holistically in a grander scheme, but anything that is aligned along that path and along that way. So it could be people, cock blocking people from connecting, blocking people from opportunities, advancements, from visibility, from money, from partnerships, from their own creativity, even from the inside out, from their own courage and confidence. I saw that. Blocking opportunities for someone to gain their own independence or to establish their own independence firmly. It was so many things that, well, there are, as I'll get to in a minute, so many things that I saw, but it was like someone being relentless, like just constantly looking for an opportunity to get in the way of someone else's progress or advancement. So in one case, I saw it as someone, this is really a cock block situation, because someone pretty much advanced themselves beyond what could be, in one regard, I saw this as like someone's offer being attached to chaos and to some type of, ulterior motive or entanglement, which definitely stands, and it serves as a distraction to whomever they offer it to. Like, you think you're getting something solid, but actually it comes with a lot of bullshit behind it, and you won't even see it coming or know where it came from once you receive it. And before you know it, you'll be entangled, or you'll be completely mangled in someone else's foolishness, and the things that they don't really lead with, that they keep in the background but are ongoing, so it seems. But I also saw this as someone positioning themselves to be an interference between suitors, that, because this is the Eight of Swords, which is more or less is kind of like a feminine energy. Suitors that are almost like fighting to be a candidate, or someone to consider for partnership here with the Ten of Cups. And it's like somebody, no matter, and whether they are or not, they may never even make it to the finish line, but this is somebody that has worked long and hard to make sure that nobody ever gets but so far, that they always are kind of like, they always remain in somebody's eyesight or in somebody's mental space or in somebody's auric field, there it is, so that no one else of potential, particularly of a high potential, can get but so close. So that ultimately keeps this feminine energy from, so the intention was to keep the feminine energy from achieving this Ten of Cups wholly and completely in partnership, because there's always a missing piece there. They don't, and this Knight of Pentacles is also like withholding and dragging his feet, because he doesn't really ever mean to get to, to really offer that pentacle. It's just the projection and the illusion, that he does. It's like, I'm coming, don't move on without me, I'll be there in a minute, hold on, I'm just around the corner. Somebody that keep telling you like, I'm just around the corner, I'm almost there, and they ain't even leave their house yet. That type of energy. That's in a mild, harmless way for the most part, depending on who you are. But this is someone that means to be a delay, that means to position himself to detour other potential suitors so that they can always be the front runner, but they ain't really running for nothing. It's just a matter of keeping the other competition out of the runnings, so that this person ultimately remains stuck, and isolated, and single forever is what I get. That's what the relentless attempts are for, is that someone is pleased, by the level of interference that they've been able to cause in someone's life, and that it is the thing that drives them to continue to be an interference. So that was one aspect, but I'm gonna tell you how it keeps backfiring in a minute as I go through all these, because that was someone trying to keep somebody from like their happily ever after, and then it's like, all right, I'll tell you as I go along, actually, because how it backfires is that with each attack, it ultimately strengthens someone in that same way that it was intended for them to be weakened. So there was an intention for someone to be disempowered and feel like, they're isolated, out on a limb by themselves, no support, no love, no interest, no attraction. And then here we go, Queen of Cups, they learned to love themselves. They actually became comfortable in their singlehood, their isolation, so to speak. They actually gained strength in their independence. And so that's how, pardon me, it backfired, because you push somebody into hermit mode, so to speak, which was supposed to be like a casting out effect, where someone almost feels like completely black sheeped, or like rejected from every aspect of their lives, hence the cock blocking effect of more than it just being suitors in the physical form, to be cast out of every aspect, rejected from every aspect of their lives, from making money, from having popularity, from friendships, from love, from intimate partnerships, from family perhaps, and even from themselves, to the point where they begin to question themselves and question their own value and worth because of what they're experiencing all around them. But like I said, where that was supposed to be the effect, it did the very opposite and made somebody actually quite much stronger in their independence in a way that they never were before, made them love themselves and find confidence and courage within themselves beyond what they were deferring to outside of themselves at a time, and empowered them instead of disempowered them. So all those things actually empowered. And so there was that reversal of energy, but they couldn't stop there. And of course, and actually all these things could have been happening all at once, but this is the resilience of the response and whomever was the target. And so here we are at this pile, which actually this is the first one, but I felt like I was kind of reading backwards a little bit. It might have been more past to present, I don't know. But I actually don't feel like the order was necessarily important, which is why I didn't harp on it. But the fact of the matter is, no matter what it is or how many attempts are made and how relentless the attempts have been, someone always finds a way out of the snare. So here is like, okay, well, I may not be able to hit your confidence, or while I'm still hitting your confidence and I'm still making sure that nobody F's with you and everybody looks at you like, you're, I don't know, like chopped liver or something. I don't know. That they don't want to associate, they don't want to work, they don't want to collaborate, they don't want to create, they don't want to date, nothing. Nobody look at that person. And if you do, this is the lens that I want you to see them through. That was this person's main objective. But when that really had, and that may have had all the greatest impact on the outside in, but when the inside out was actually advancing in the adverse way, someone turned up the heat on the physical, on the material manipulation. So they really went all in on blocking somebody's money, blocking their resources, their ways to make money, their, again, opportunities to collaborate, to advance their stability, to advance their creativity, to build on their ideas, to use their gifts and talents for the purposes of making money, because if you have everybody looking at somebody like they're either not talented or not trustworthy or not responsible, not reliable, then that could do a hell of a number on someone's reputation, not just energetically, but certainly professionally and creatively. So that was also another way that somebody was blacking. And they did their big one, in that regard, and they managed to really create a wedge between certain big opportunities and gifts and things that should have been passed down, or should have been offered, at a certain time. However, again, what it came down to with here, the Queen of Wands being the end result, is that someone pretty much learned to find the value in their self, and they learned to find their stability and security within themselves. Like when it wasn't necessarily available outside of them, then they just made do with what they had, however little, however much they made do. And it even beyond material, like this could even be talking about like gifts and creativity, as I said, is made someone so independent that they're not even really looking to be supported. It's actually, there's so much independence here that it might actually be more of a challenge. Look at this with the Nine of Pentacles and the Strength card. It's like somebody feels more comfortable working alone, or feels more or pardon me, at least or at least is so secure in their soloness, their singleness, in every way, shape, and form, that it's of no consequence either way. It's like, well, if I have help, cool, but if I don't, I'm good too. It's not like, oh, I sure wish I had a hand. I sure wish I had a handout. I sure wish somebody would come do this for me. It's like, no, not really. I'd rather kind of do it myself. And there's also like a defense against, like it that's what it did. It fortified their defenses against energies that are actually not there to help. It boosted someone's discernment to kind of see, maybe even too much, because this is what happens in these cases where someone becomes almost too defensive about who you let in, who you let help, who you let support, who you let invest even, because it's like, who sent you? What you here for? But although that's the extreme result of it, it's still in its healthiest form, in its most balanced form, gave someone better boundaries, healthier boundaries, more secure boundaries, to know that everybody is not a friend. Everybody's not here for your best interest. You can love people with all your heart, but you can still create distance and create protection for yourself from, harmful energies that are just being them, and with no shade and no disgrace attached to it. It just is what it is for your own protection. So that, again, was yet another backfire, along with the fact that somebody still found their way to their own means and their own securities, even amidst some interferences outside of themselves. They learn to live with what they have, work with what they have, make it stretch, make it work, and go without, perhaps, in times when needed. But there was a certain resilience here that could have only been cultivated through this resistance. Oh, I like that. Resilience through resistance, or resistance from resilience from I don't know. I like that though. Yeah, so whoops. Didn't mean for that to happen either. It's like somebody continued to trump the odds, and to surprise the opposition at every turn. It's like when it was more or less, what do you call it? What is that called? Predictive programming, I think it is. That may or may not apply here, but it could. And this could even speak to the matriarchy and patriarchy overall. Like, not everyone, of course, but like that sentiment of opposition between the two, where women, every time a woman, the feminine force has been contained in some way, shape, or form, or limited, she's found a way to break out of it and establish a new foundation, a new security, a new normal. And it's made her, the woman, that much stronger and evolving, with every generation. You know what I mean? So there's that to the point where that evolution begins to push the needle on creation's evolution, even against continuous and relentless resistance at every turn. Even now with this loud insurgence or resurgence of, these like extreme conservative Christian views where they feel like women need to get back into the home and this and that. And, maybe, yeah, I'm saying, like, if that works for you, it works for you. But the fact of the matter is that there can't be a regression from what has evolved at this point. It could still be women taking care of their homes and themselves and their families in a similar light, but not in a confined aspect or a contained aspect where they can't do anything else. Like, women are running businesses from home now, and in some cases being the breadwinners for their homes and taking care of home in a soft sense too. It's amazing. So it's like it always backfires when it's imbalanced and when it's unjustified, So that could be that here as well on a broader scheme. But as I said, in a very singular storyline, is definitely somebody that no matter what they do, it never does what it was supposed to do. It always works to the advantage of whomever the target is. Even with the material aspect of it all. Well, let me say this. The other thing that I saw is that what someone was always trying to interfere with, and in this case I saw even like the competitiveness to want to get to a fortune or get to some type of gain before someone else did, get to happiness or semblance of happiness, happy home, happy life type of energy. It's like somebody was on a race against time to achieve before someone else did, like almost a nan and a boo boo type of energy. Like, I got here before you. It's like, okay, congratulations. And the funny thing about it is, classic tortoise in the hare scenario, while somebody was racing to get to where they were going, or cutting corners, I should say, more or less, to get to some ultimate prize or finish line. It's like somebody was getting there in their own time, and it's like they were already there. How can I say this? This is how I saw it. Was like where somebody was trying to beat someone to, it's like they had already achieved it, like they were already there. They had already, and how I know why now, because while somebody was busy in the pursuit of doing and having the things, what they ultimately initiated or ignited for someone was the process of being the things. That's what it was. And that is probably what the classic tortoise and hare situation really is. It's like the being versus the doing. The tortoise was he might have been slow, but he was being himself. He wasn't trying to be anything but himself in his own shell, in the at the speed that he was comfortable with. He adapted to every environment, that he encountered along the way, but still stayed true to his ultimate goal, was to get to the end, not really caring about what the competition was doing. It wasn't about the competition, but the hare was so fixated on being fast, getting there first, doing it better, being, like flashy, being seen perhaps, being acclaimed for their speed, and also having the bragging rights against the tortoise to say, again, nan and a boo boo, I got there before you. That he lost himself along the way, literally lost sight of the mission. And I think the story is like he took a pause, to relax, because he thought he had it in the bag. And in that time frame, the tortoise passed him. But the point of the matter is, it's definitely the being versus doing classic case, because like I said, someone turned, and when they couldn't achieve outside of themselves, or they couldn't find help outside of themselves, they couldn't find security necessarily outside of themselves, they turned inward and they begin to cultivate that identity from the inside out, which ultimately attracted, it literally shortened the manifestation time, although it may have seemed to take longer than what the hair was able to put their hands on and touch on, actively. Not only did it make for a smarter versus harder work, it also solidified the return and reward in a way that now can't be manipulated. It can't be stolen. It can't be changed. It can't be, pretty much, it's really more so the stolen aspect of it. Although, like I said, and I'll get to in a second, there's still the relentlessness to try. When you find your security, your confidence, your love for yourself, how can that really can't be taken away from you, because it's no longer dependent on things outside of you as it once was. Like, if you lose a thing, a person, a place, an opportunity, a job, a friendship, like whatever the case may be, that wasn't what your confidence and security was grounded in anyway. So it doesn't do as much to really bruise, the nature of the person. Yeah, it might cause for adjustments, and it might cause for maybe even starting over at different times, but it can't diminish the character, which is the most precious and priceless thing a person can possess and cultivate. And that's where the distortion of understanding lies between the two energies, And so here we are with the Page of Swords, and what I thought was most interesting is this is how the deck fell. I hope you can see it on this side. It's like somebody, once again, got their sword drawn and is waiting and watching for, or was, this could all be past energy for all I know, but let's just say, if even at the present moment, with all that has occurred, that someone now at this point still has their sword drawn, for me, is looking for an opportunity to interject, interfere, maybe even attack. Although it's the Page of Swords, it's not the Knight of Swords. If anything, it says to me that someone would want to attack, but either they don't really have the force to do so, or the ammunition to fully do so in the way that would make an impact, which is why it's coming up as the Page, or all the information, perhaps it could be that, or it's just what somebody would want to do, but they're not going to do it. And it might be for their own good, because what I saw is that this is the Chariot card, but see how the Chariot is like peeking over the Page of Swords? It's like, regardless of whatever someone's intentions or ambitions may be, great or small, every little move that they make is being watched. And we know the Chariot card is like the police, or some type of security energy. So where they may want to leap, they might feel a bit froggy, but the moment that they leap is the moment that some higher force or some enforcement is on that ass. It's like someone, plotting and scheming and planning to do something, but not knowing that they're under surveillance the whole time. And of course, with the Chariot, this could be physical surveillance, like I said, the police, or it could be spiritual surveillance, which is why I feel like this is the Page of Swords, like almost minimizing perhaps the impact of someone's attack, either because they know they're being watched or they've been seen, identified perhaps is what I just heard, and or because of the magnitude of surveillance that is over them, whether they know or they don't know. It almost makes any attempt null and void, because the moment they even try it, they're done for. It's like they would want to have one good last swing of that sword if they possibly could, to really, commit that final blow, but they're under watch. Somebody is watching, and somebody of a higher authority, a greater power, that has more influence and control over the entire situation is watching. So with all that being said, it's like the relentlessness to no avail, ultimately has its consequences, because number one, someone hasn't ever been able to fully create the damage, to impact the damage that they really wanted to. Even though there may have been some damages incurred, it's never quite been what they wanted for it to be satisfying. And now that this could also be like somebody having exhausted a lot of their energy to the point where this is all they can do, is kind of watch and observe and hope and pray for an opportunity to strike. But they really don't have the force anymore. They don't have the support. They don't have the ear of the people, perhaps, that they were spreading lies and rumors about. They don't have the resources, perhaps. They don't have the intel. They may not have the eyes that they used to have to be able to see their target clearly and know exactly how to attack or which point to attack anymore. And now that's all that someone has over them. I don't even know if I guess we'll do a couple cards since but that was like a whole message, you know what I'm saying? It's like three of swords. And when I was saying like to commit that final blow, I definitely heard to the heart, like a blow to the heart. Somebody would want to swing in a way that is fatal this time. Like they don't want to play with it no more. It's like they don't even want to take these little chances of a little jab here, a little stab here, a little shank on the side, you know what I mean? It's like they want to take a sword and plunge it straight through somebody's heart space, in the place that it either hurts them the most, or physically in the place that they feel would literally stop their life force. Like, how nefarious is that? Like, come on. Like, stop it. Get some help. But that's what it is. And that's probably why, authorities are involved at this point at a much higher level, because and with it being the Page of Swords, it could be somebody literally talking themselves into incrimination. Their phones could be tapped, or lines could be tapped, or they could be talking to people that they think are friends, or what's the word, like not associates, but like when people are in cahoots with you, like I guess colluders, but not that. It's like, when somebody is like in on the plot, pretty much. You think you're talking to somebody that's in on it, and they could actually be the ops, or wearing a wire or feeding information to authorities or to other people. It could be friends that you think you can trust, but meanwhile they going behind your back and telling your business. Like, yo, you hear such and such, let me tell you what such and such told me, or what such and such did, or whatever. Like, somebody is very exposed, you know, at this point, or every move that they make, which is back to that that Page of Swords and Chariot energy. Is like they don't have refuge, they don't have a security, you know, a safe channel to communicate. It's like they feel lonely out on the limb, you know. They don't have any they don't have any allies at this time to really work their plan, even if they wanted to, because everyone and everywhere they think they can go turns out to be untrustworthy or oppositional in some way, shape, or form. Like they're either not with it or not on that level or that vibe. Like, man, I don't want to hear that. Like, not, please don't talk to me about that, or don't talk to me about that person, or no, I'm not down for that. I'm off that, or whatever. So they don't really have the support system that they used to have to carry out the plans that they used to or that they want to. And someone is incriminating themselves by the day, or has incriminated themselves by running their mouth. By running their mouth to the wrong people, or at the wrong time, on the wrong mediums, or too many times, you know, too often. Like one too many times you said the wrong thing, and now it's like, wait, I thought you had said last time you said ... Now you saying what? It's like, you know, like somebody's words are catching up with them, or did, you know. Like I said, I really do get a sense of like it being a past energy, a recent past energy at best. But yeah, was that the King of... It sure was King of Swords and Queen of Cups. That's crazy. All right, so let's see. Let me get a couple. Just let's give me, I don't know. Let me just get like 3. Past, present, future. Never done that. Let's see that. Let's see past. As if we need to. I kind of gave all the past, right? Temperance. Wow, that's like, shoot. That says to me that no matter what was going on, like this was already written, you know, like it was already a destined situation that was always being watched, always being and I did see that in the message too. I heard that like it was coming through, like everything was always being monitored, you know, whether somebody thought they were getting away with something, they had no idea, as I said many times over, that they were actually contributing to a greater outcome, a bigger picture. They didn't know that they were, but they were. And no matter what someone may have incurred as a target, they were growing all along and evolving all along, even in the ways that they wish they may not have had to, or, you know, in the ways that they didn't have to encounter. It still was always working out for the balance of all things, spiritually and naturally. So it's like, this is really given, like, when I said like it was written, it was just like meant to be, you know. Maybe some aspects of it didn't have to go as far as they have and as far as they did, but especially when we're talking about the masculine and feminine energies in creation, it was always like this pendulum swinging, you know, trying to find its balance. And it was far right, left, whichever you see the patriarch on, for a long time, but ultimately, even as it's finding it steady now, it was for the purposes of balancing these two energies back out to one, where they once have been distorted, you know, and the divine ways of doing that are not our ways, you know. So if we have our choice, it would look very different. But the bigger picture, you know, the ultimate ending, so to speak, or maybe even new beginning, is what was always in mind the whole time. So nothing was out of order. All right, so what's present? Oh, somebody trying to hold on to everything they have left. Trying to manage, you know, it's like they're trying to find their new normal or their new balance with what they've had left, what they have left to cherish, you know, or what securities they feel they have left, which in the grand scheme of a 10, part of me is not very much, you know. It's enough to keep somebody standing and stable, but it will also depend on, you know, their ability to submit to what's required of them in this transitional time, to the point where you can have someone holding on to coins, literally. Imagine this, like you holding on to every dollar you have because you feel like it's your lifeline, only for the dollar to, like, I mean, and you know, not saying that I want this to happen per se, you know, or I'm speeding up, you know, accelerating this inevitability if it is so, but it's like holding on to every single material possession you have, but specifically money, only for the stock market to crash, and or the dollar to ultimately be rendered worthless. So you could have a bank full of money, which would have made you feel quite secure at a time, but now in this time, you know, or in the time that I'm speaking of, it's like worthless, just paper and metal. You know what I mean? Like, it's like somebody needs to, or some in general, just need to renew their personal identity in conjunction with, or I guess in reflection of, the things of the world. You know, they need to renew their identity with the integration of their soul, you know, or their spirit, which is not so materially based. It's not anything you can really hold on to. They need to ultimately, as I said in the beginning, they need to revert back to the foundations of being, as opposed to this doing and having. Yeah, and in some cases, that might feel like someone going all the way back to the starting point, you know, to the starting line, to run their race all over again with new information or a new perspective. It may feel like that. It may not actually be that, but it may feel like that. But what it won't be is someone picking up the same ideals that they've cultivated in a distorted past and advancing on account of those. It'll be like running in place at this point. All right, what's future? Oh, man. The future comes down to, as I pretty much said, like the fate of those that took this offer, took this cup, this balanced cup as it is, or didn't. They insisted on having it their way, the old way or their way, in the sense of it being what they're comfortable with or used to, or what they feel like gained them some advantage in the past. And then I say something about the tortoise sitting down, on the race, and I saw him under a tree, because I think that's probably the illustrations we probably used to see when we were a kid. But yeah, it's like somebody sitting down like, I ain't going no further. I'm just going to chill here. This is enough. I got what I need. Nah, y'all can keep that. I don't want nothing to do with that. Like, spirit? What do you mean, spirit? It's about cold, hard cash. And it's about hard work and dedication. F a spirit. That's this energy. But those that, there'll be a clear distinction between those that drank that cup and those that did not. Tortoise or hare. Because it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get to the so-called finish line, whatever that even is or means. It's just about running your race authentically in your own energy, and with pure energy at that. Not distorted, not someone else's, not stolen, not cutting corners, not cheating, not with ulterior motives, just for bragging rights or just to nana and boo-boo somebody else. It's like someone needs to be purified in their why, You know what? I just heard that clearly. They need to be purified in their I am. And of course, their I as in, oh, look, their first I on the temperance card. Yep. Damn, that's deep. They need to reestablish their I, or realign their I with the divine. Yep. And some people are with that. Some people don't even believe in that. Some people don't feel like they have what it takes to devote themselves to that, not knowing what, not knowing how long it takes or what sacrifice must be made. It's just too much to bear for some people. But for some, not so much, and even if they have to start over or slow down, or lose a couple things along the way, some will definitely have the will and the determination to see it through. Literally see it through. And good for them. The surprise of it all is that, and I've said this before, that upon decision, some may find that it's really not as hard as they anticipated. It's all a matter of perspective. But you wouldn't know unless you go. So, all right, I'm gonna leave that there. Let's see what's on the bottom. Oh my God, Queen of Cups is still here. Queen of Cups, girl. She like, I'm good. Wow. And I said this too when I was looking at the Seven of Wands. I was like, that's how I knew it was like cock blocking, to the point of some confirmation, to the point of someone trying, to someone, how that Seven of Wands is somebody like trying to fight off the Six of Wands, pardon me, trying to keep success at bay for someone else instead of focusing on their own, which is crazy. You know what I mean? It's just a total misinvestment of energy, honestly. But as I said, like, no matter what the intention, this is still the outcome. Not only is someone still 100% in love with themselves and in love with life. And not only is there still love, and with that, with the Queen of Cups, there's still even a surplus to offer to the world. You know what I mean? It's like she don't just have enough love for her. She got enough love for everybody that deserves it, of course, you know? And again, that has been the source of success, is discerning who gets to have that and who doesn't, by determining her own value, which comes back to what? That purified I, knowing that I am love. So therefore, not only do I deserve love, but I have I can trust myself to discern who deserves my love and create healthy boundaries on account of that decision, unapologetically. That's a winning energy in this dimension, because there's no one can, there can never be a person that's too loving. It's like, because when all else fails, hell, like I said in the earlier spread, if nobody else is receiving it or wanting to receive it purely and properly, if other people want to manipulate and mismanage, if people want to reject, then oh well, more for me. you know, more for me, not a problem. And that's the beauty of the Queen of Cups, is that she can never love herself enough, love herself too much, and she will always have more than enough for anything and anyone and any place else that, you know, ultimately is in alignment with that exchange. It's always going to be a win-win for a Queen of Cups, masculine or feminine. So I really think like the key here is falling in love with yourself again. And for most of us humans, you can't do that until you really kind of shake off and sift through, and in some ways accept, but in many ways denounce the conditionings that have incited us to hate ourselves in one way, shape, or form or another, like the cock blockers of society that at every turn have taught us to not accept ourselves, to not feel worthy of divine love, to not feel worthy of an exchange of love humanly, and certainly to not feel so inclined to love ourselves. Like, who do you think you are? It's a lot of healing that gets to take place to have this energy be true and pure. And it's definitely, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's a constant work every day to reinforce the things that you have discovered about yourselves, to continue to release the things that you had to unlearn. You know, it's like, it's the tortoise energy, and the work never stops, and there's no shortcut to it. But you can definitely find pleasure and splendor, I've been saying that word a lot lately, along the journey. Yep. And that's what this is. All right, so I think I'm gonna leave it there. I feel like there's more I could say given these two cards came up, but I really just didn't want to be. I thought I was gonna be really fast today, but whatever. All right, thanks for listening. I ain't got nothing to do today, so I could sit here for another hour if need be, but I'm trying to make the messages shorter. I am. I'm so jealous of people that could just get on for 30 minutes and pull 100 cards and they in and out. Maybe one day that'll be me, but I just channel differently. So I guess that's me having to accept myself, or just be more patient with myself, evolving in that way. We shall see. We shall see. But if you're still here, I appreciate you. If you tapped in, you are very much so appreciated, welcomed, and I hope that you tap in again for the next one. All right. In the meantime, enjoy your Friday. I know it's definitely holiday celebrations amping up, sports gatherings amping up. There's always opportunities to socialize now and more on the horizon. So just be safe, be discerning, protect your energy, get out of there when it don't feel right. Don't matter who cares or who's offended. And, surround yourself by people that love you and in places that are safe and doing things that are affirming to your highest frequency. All right. And until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.